Good morning, everybody. Jim Feist and Hank Goldberg here in Las Vegas. And happy Monday and Martin Luther King Day to everyone out there. Hank, good morning.
Good morning to you, Jim.
It was a good weekend for both of us. We both had a real good weekend in football and basketball. It was a good week.
Well, I think we both liked the under in the San Francisco game. That didn't happen for us, but the over in Kansas City was pretty easy. I think they had it at the half.
Yeah, they're pretty explosive. Hank, we have two different styles of football here. I mean, we got one, Mahomes is unbelievably talented and throws the ball all over the ball yard and tremendous arm strength, accuracy, et cetera, and he's very mobile. He's very difficult. The San Francisco, on the other hand, they don't throw the ball much. They control it with the offensive line, their running backs. They have three good running backs. Coleman is hurt, so we'll have to see how that turns out by the time the Super Bowl starts. But
I don't think he's going to be ready in 2 weeks. That was a bad shoulder injury that he had. He hurt his shoulder and his wrist. And, Mustard, he's an undrafted guy. Nobody knew who he was before the playoffs. And he ran for over 200 yards against Green Bay. Green Bay, I think was they did what they always do when they go west. Rodgers had a rough day. He turned the ball over a couple of times, and he was under siege for much of the game. And the running game couldn't deliver much. That San Francisco defense is pretty amazing again. But we'll see what happens when they get up against the Kansas City offense. You talk about Kansas City's offense and Mahomes, and he only threw the ball to Kelsey once. On Friday we talked about the tight ends. Kittles did nothing. I mean, they only threw the ball 8 times.
Yeah,
Kittles wasn't really part. He was a blocker on Sunday, and you look at Kelsey was not part of the offense at all. I think he caught one ball.
Yeah, the results of what the tight ends did were very surprising. It was when I talk about the San Francisco team, this offensive and defensive lines are exceptional, and the way they open the holes for these running backs and throw the ball 8 times, we're seeing an offense there that goes back 30 years. Now, granted, the Shanahans are, Mike and now Kyle, and they believed in running the ball, and Mike won two Super Bowls with that style, and he's brought it back and with his son. And
you go back 50 years when the Dolphins had the perfect season, and they did it with Zonka kick and Mercury Morris out of the backfield.
That's right. Two different styles going to Miami, and Hank, I went to a Super Bowl in Miami a few years back, and it rained like hell. It was absolute. Yeah. I don't know what the weather's going to be, and it's a little too far in advance to predict it.
You can't predict weather in Miami.
No.
The rain can come up on you just like that. So it's the rain. The weather in Miami is very unpredictable. You don't know what it's going to be.
That's right. Well, for me,
I'll tell you, I didn't like the way Kansas City's defense played early in the game at all. They came out and they were very sloppy. They had those they had offsides on back-to-back plays, which set up what extended the early drives for Tennessee. And then they had a really dumb interference call on a 3rd and 22, which really handed Tennessee their only score on a drive. in the game. But otherwise, they shut down the Tennessee running game. And that's what's I thought was very interesting, because they're going to face a total running game when they go up against San Francisco. He has no confidence in Garoppolo, none whatsoever. He threw the ball 8 times in the game. And by the way, he wasn't very good with his passes.
Yeah, they're focused totally on running the ball, which they're very good at doing. And so you got Garoppolo. If you look at just the quarterbacks, Garoppolo against Mahomes, it's kind of a mismatch. But
their running game was getting 10 yards a carry.
I know. That's you think back.
It surprised me. There were a lot of people. I don't say I'm respecting the people who picked him, but there were a lot of people who thought Tennessee had a great chance to win that game. But the 4th game in a row on the road came back to haunt them, and their running game ground to a halt, and Tannehill couldn't bring them back once they fell behind. Tannehill became Tannehill again. And that was that.
Well, I think we have the 2 right teams in there for this year, and you got Kyle Shanahan against Andy Reid. You got the new school against the old school. Andy's been around a long time. He's done some great things in the league, and there's a lot of people who like to see him win one because he's up in age and stuff, but. Shanahan.
Well, I'll be curious to see what happens with the price on the game. There was Kansas City was the favorite before the games were played Sunday, and talking with the odds makers in town, they were going to wait and see how the games were played yesterday, which would determine how the games would come out. Anywhere from Kansas City favored by a point, pick them to Kansas City by 3. And when I was watching the game, I talked to Chuck Esposito over at Stations, and they had a meeting during the game. And I said, I don't like Kansas City's defense against the run. I just didn't think they looked all that great. And I said, I wouldn't make them a 3-point favorite. He said, we're not. He said, right now we're talking about Kansas City being favored by half a point.
Right.
And I guess they opened the game at 1. And they opened the total at 53.
Yeah, that total. The total's going to go up. I don't know what the point spread's going to.
It already went up.
Yeah.
There's, overseas it's 56.
No, really? Holy jeez!
Yeah.
Wow. That's. I can see it. I mean, we've had Super Bowls that get very lopsided. Of course, we talked a little bit about it a minute ago with the weather. You never know if that weather comes in there. That can slow down a lot, but we don't know that.
Well, it can get very windy in that place, and that stadium is open to the east. So that's where the ocean is. Not that they're close to the ocean, but the winds come in from that side of the field, and they can blow pretty good there.
Yeah,
and they can come up. Like it could affect the kicking games. But the field should be in good shape.
Where is that state? Where is that stadium located in Miami?
It's west. It's in Miramar.
Okay. Yeah, Miami.
It's north of Miami. It's north of downtown, and it's west of the ocean.
Okay.
Pretty far west.
Well, a lot of people will be talking about Super Bowl for the next 2 weeks, but we do have college hoops. We do have NBA. college hoops have been very, very interesting and very good for both of us. And we have some great games.
They weren't good for me this week. I didn't have a good week.
Oh, I didn't know that. Sorry to hear that.
Yeah. I had a bad weekend. I was doing okay until the weekend. I had a lot of teams. Duke lost twice this week. Auburn lost twice this week. Kentucky's doing okay now. Virginia has not been doing very well. I'll tell you, there are teams like Kansas is okay. Gonzaga is rolling over everybody.
Yeah.
But Baylor is, I think Baylor had a rough game this week. And then Dayton is good. Louisville looked good against Duke, but Louisville is kind of an up-and-down team.
And don't forget Seton Hall.
Seton Hall struggled against St. John's. I didn't forget them. They got beat by them.
Yeah, they're right. Well, when they get in conference play, upsets do happen, and they happen frequently. They're teams that know each other, and they know the venues, and that's all part of it. Now we have a lot of extra board games that people don't play too much. I mean, it's not that active, but there's some soft spots in there. Teams like Winthrop today could be a team to look at. And I bet all these games, but I don't usually give them out. I don't give them out much because a lot of people can't find lines on them. So it's kind of a waste of time to do that, and frustrates people when you give them games you can't bet on. But yeah, it's going to be a.
There was the guy who covers racing for the Review Journal should not be doing it. He had a mistake in his column on Friday. They had a 3-year-old race, excuse me, at the fairgrounds, which is owned by Churchill. And he wrote in his column that you can't bet the fairgrounds in Nevada because of their continuing difference of opinion on takeout. I think I talked about that a little bit on Friday's podcast, and that you couldn't bet Kentucky Derby futures. He had this in his column.
Yeah, you did mention that, yes.
Yeah, well, he was wrong. So I go to Sunset, and I was talking to Chuck, and I said I'm kind of anxious to watch that race because it's the first major 3-year-old race. And by the way, Mark Cassie's horse ran very well, but Chuck made a call and found out that you can bet fairgrounds,
right,
and you can bet Kentucky Derby futures. This guy's writing the racing column every week. Make a phone call. Go to a sports book once in a while if you're going to cover the sport. I called my friend there and I told him, and he was going to tell the editor about it. And they never printed a correction, by the way.
Right.
That's disgraceful. That's absolutely disgraceful. Guy's a dope. Can I say that on the air?
Well, you just did. I can't add.
That's inexcusable.
I mean, that you're allowed to say you're allowed to say what you want to say, Hank. It's your own opinion, and I'm not.
That's not an opinion. I mean, Churchill Downs is a major racetrack. The Kentucky Derby is a major race, and they are taking future bets on a Kentucky Derby. I talked with Chad Brown yesterday. He's got a nice 3-year-old who's coming along who's only had 2 races. He told me about that horse.
What's his name?
He's got something that I'll talk about it. I don't want to give that out for nothing.
Oh, okay. Gotcha. Okay.
But also, Chad's got 3 horses in the big grass race at Gulfstream this weekend as part of the Pegasus card. We talked about the main race, and he agreed with me that it's a glorified version of the Don Handicap, and didn't get a great field. but he's got 3 entries in the grass race, and one of them is a horse that he got from John Gosden in England, and he's been training him over here. And this horse is a horse to watch, and I'll be giving that out this week too.
Great. Well, there's always
for right now.
There's always something to keep us busy, Hank, and make money on, and we cover all the sports. We're both very into. Well, I don't do horse racing, but you do that, and you do it very well. We've had a good season. The NFL season was a good season, and
well, I did well on CBS again this week. In the playoffs. I'm 6-1-1.
Oh, wow, awesome! Can't do much better than that. Yep. Well, we'll get back together on Wednesday. We'll see what anything updates off the games, and we'll talk again on Wednesday, Hank.
Yeah. By the way, coming out of this game, there was only one injury of significance.
Coleman.
And pardon me.
Coleman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was it. But they're deep at that position, and so that shouldn't affect their offense at all.
I agree. All right, Hank, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay, Jim. Have a good week.
You too.